evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Commissioners, Town of Redington Shores regular meeting at Wednesday, July 10th, 2013 at 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wojcik?
Here.
Commissioner Capra?
Here.
Commissioner Holmes?
Here.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Here.
Mayor Adams?
Here.
Attorney Genoway?
Here.
First, order of business, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting June the 12th, 2013, workshop meeting June 26th, 2013.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes for the regular meeting, June 12th, 2013, workshop meeting, June 26th, 2013, as stated.
Second.
Motion and a second, and discussion. Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Wojcik?
Yes.
Commissioner Capra?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Next, ratification of the bills for June and July 2013.
Make a motion that we ratify the bills June, July 2013 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, and discussion. Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Wojcik?
Yes.
Commissioner Capra?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Next is the commission reports, and I'm going to start tonight. The last workshop meeting, Commissioner Wojcik came in and handed some paperwork out and said how the town was spending more than it made. So I went back to the financial reports to the year 2009. I don't remember how far he took it back. But I went to, that was done, it's the audit done by our auditors who are here tonight. And I'd just like to read from 2009 to 2012. That the town implemented procedures during the 2007 and 8 fiscal year that provided additional oversight of the budgetary process. The procedures include more timely review of financial information by administration and engagement of an outside consultant. The general fund, which is the fund that Commissioner Wojcik was talking about, budgetary estimates as amended were favorable for both revenue and expenditures. Actual revenue exceeded budget by $74,978. Actual expenditures were under budget by $103,776. 2010. The town of Redington Shores funds provide the same type of information found in the government-wide financial statements, but in more detail. Unrestricted net assets of the sewer fund at the end of the year amounted to $2,468.71. The total growth in net assets were $163,436. The general fund budgetary estimates as amended were favorable for both revenue and expenditures. Actual revenue exceeded budget by $138,683. Actual expenditures were under budget $75,913. 2011. The general fund budgetary estimates as amended were favorable both for revenue and expenditures. Actual revenues exceeded budget by $61,211. Actual expenditures were under budget by $130,131. 2012. The general fund budgetary estimates as amended were favorable for both revenue and expenditure. Actual revenue exceeded budget by $60,922. Actual expenditures were under budget by $126,920. And I can tell you that this year, the numbers are gonna be about the same. This town has not spent more than it made. I want to clarify that before we got going tonight. I think it's a bad thing to say things like this when it's not true. I've been questioned about that comment since the workshop meeting. And I would like to make a recommendation tonight that maybe somewhere we can put in the Florida League of Cities does a class called for elected municipal officials. I've been to it twice in the term I've been here. I would highly recommend that our elected officials here, that all be required to do that if in some way possible, that they attend these, the elected municipal official classes. Other than that, that's all I've got. And Vice Mayor Branch.
All right, I'd like to give the police report, make it very short. In the year of 2012, in accidents, we had one, and this year we've had one. Now, all of these things are given on equal time. In other words, we're not taking all of last year and comparing it up to this time. We're taking that portion of each year and dividing it. Traffic citations, last year was 12, and this year we've had 26, which is an increase of 2. And this is where the thing that really takes a lot of the police work time. Some of it's because of road work, some of it's because of individual, all of these alarms going off that people have put in their house and so forth. Last year, we had 230 calls. This year, so far, we've had 363 calls, so that's an increase of 133. There's only, and one other thing I would like to say, that I'm also in charge of the sewers and the water runoff here in this area. Too many people are mowing their yards and they're leaving the trash in the gutter. Well, there's a very healthy fine if you get caught leaving that trash in the gutter and it goes down into the pipes that take it right on out to the outfalls and into the water. So please, it's very simple, just to go ahead and blow it back into the yard, or if you like some have a yard man, tell him don't blow it in the water, because if he does, we have a man here now that will be right on top of you and everything else. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Branch. Commissioner Capper.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone that was involved in our 4th of July fireworks. I think it went off very well. I haven't heard any complaints on it. Also, it drew a lot of people into this town, which I think is pretty neat. And like I said, I'd like to commend our staff for the cleaning up and setting up for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rogers.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this morning I met with Debbie Peck, who is the Pinellas County Emergency Management Coordinator, and she's responsible for some of the beaches communities, Madeira Beach and the Redingtons. And her role is to assist us and create a plan for administering through a disaster, including a secondary emergency operations center and clean up after the emergency, and also first damage assessment and then final damage assessments. And she thought we ought to have she thought we needed a plan. She wanted to see our plan. And in the past, we've partnered with Indian Shores to do that kind of stuff for the last 4 years. The last 2 years, we really haven't partnered with them at all. So what I told Debbie was that it appears that Indian Shores is moving along without us for whatever reasons. And so we needed to create a plan that would support Redington Shores through an evacuation, setup and staffing and resourcing of a secondary emergency operations center. And then, as you know, we already have an agreement with federal, FDOT to clean our streets, both Gulf Boulevard and our local streets. We have a contract with Ashbridge to clean the debris after the first push. And Steve Andrews has a plan for disaster assessment losses. So what we really need is the front end of that plan, which is to negotiate a secondary emergency operations center, plan for staffing it, plan for resourcing it. So I'm going to develop that plan, and I'll be putting it in the, we'll present it at the August workshop. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wojcik. Commissioner Holmes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The building department, there were 43 permits issued during the period, and there were 3 permits for new construction. $33,866 was collected for the permit fees, and $4,371 was collected or received, from the town of Indian Shores for building department services rendered during the period. Fire services support, which I probably neglect once in a while to out, was combined between Seminole and Madeira Beach, provide us with our fire and support. And there were 4 non-emergency fire responses during the period with an average response time of 6 minutes and 13 seconds. There were 8 emergency fire responses during the period with an average response time of 6 minutes and 27 seconds. Emergency medical support, there were 12 emergency EMS responses during the period with an average response time 6 minutes, 6 minutes and 13 seconds. There were 9 non-emergency EMS responses for the period with an average response time of 7 minutes and 2 seconds. The next subject that I have an area of responsibility in is supervision on our library participation, and the mayor has agreed that we should move under new business, we should move item 4 and 5 up under my report so that it flows smoother for the meeting. And we have Nancy Bloomer, who I would like for Nancy to step forward, please, if you would, at the podium. We have 2 members of the Board of Trustees.
Mayor.
Yes, please.
Turn around.
What?
Face the mayor, please.
This?
No.
What do you want me to do?
Stand behind the podium, right there.
Good.
Man, you're good, look at me.
Nancy, we have 2 members of the Board of Trustees of the Gulf Beaches Library. And Nancy has been one for our town, representing our community for about 3 years. And during that time, she has accomplished quite a few things. I'm only going to mention a few of them. I probably would have to read some of them because my memory doesn't grip them quite as quickly as it used to. She served on the committee to create an updated evaluation form for the library director, and we have been using it since that time. She served on the long-range planning committee, which was instrumental in targeting us in the right directions down the road. She served on the personnel committee that helped settle an employee's dispute that couldn't be handled by the library director. And she served on the general insurance committee that reviewed all the library's policies and helped secure a new policy for volunteers, which hadn't previously been in place. And this was a very important item. She served on the committee that created and improved guidelines and a policy manual for volunteers, which also had not been available at all in the past, and which is also an important thing to cover up. We get a lot of volunteers, and they needed guidance, and we needed some kind of official way to handle it. And she assisted with the annual Food for Thought fundraiser this year as well as in the past. She just contributed an awful lot to our library operations, and of course, and she did it in the name of our town, which she was a member of the Board of Trustees, and I would like to ask that she be honored for this, and Mr. Mayor, if you would.
Should have brought my book.
Nancy, we certainly appreciate all the time you spent and what you've done to help the library and this community. Thank you very much.
Well, you're quite welcome.
A little token of our appreciation.
As we need a replacement for Nancy, we were very fortunate to locate a volunteer who had also had some past experience in the library, and I've asked Sharon Danielson to appear tonight at our meeting so that I could introduce you to her and nominate her to be, would you stand up please, Sharon? Thank you. To nominate her as our member of the Board of Trustees, Gulf Beaches Library. And I do place her name in nomination. Hello?
Oh, I'll second. I'll make a motion that we accept as a, what more do you want?
I'll second that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Wojcik?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes,
Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Thank you, Sharon.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to make another little change in the order tonight. I'm going to ask Janine Billinger and Richard Christina, they're with our Davison, Jameson, and Christine. I have trouble with that. Christine. They're our auditors, and if you all would come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. With me this evening is Janine Bittinger. Janine is the partner in charge of the field work. I am the review partner. We had to change our schedules around this year a little bit, so you probably saw a little bit more of me than you usually did, but we were able to get the job done in a timely fashion. The report, I'd just like to highlight some of the issues in the report. I'm not going to read 96 pages to you because we would put everybody to sleep, and I understand that. Suffice to say that the report follows the guidelines of the Government Finance Officers Association. It exceeds the requirements of the state of Florida and the Auditor General's rules based on the additional schedules that you put forth each year. Specifically, the statistical tables in the back, these are tables that were up to 5 years. We're building them to 10. So it will provide revenue and expenditure data for the town on a 10-year basis when we're done. It was easier to move forward in building these schedules than to make Mary go back, because it would have been much more difficult. And we probably saved her her eyesight as well in doing that. The report is, as I said, has the transmittal letter to the commission in town, and basically identifies some overview areas that need to be brought to the attention, and typically it has to do with future planning and things of this nature. The next section of the report is the auditor's report. It is the independent auditor's report. This report is unqualified. Basically what that means is that at the conclusion of the audit procedures, the risk assessments that were done, in other words, we sit down and do an audit program and try to pick the items where we think a mistake might have occurred. All right, and we do it on a risk basis. And the taking into consideration our knowledge of the town, the documentation of the procedures that are used, the strength of those procedures, and what has happened in our experience in the past. In other words, there were strong points and maybe some little bit of weak points, so we didn't beat on the things that we knew you had cold. So we did try to go after those items where we said, okay, a slip could have occurred, and that's what predicated the size of our samples and testing. Basically, what we found is that people were doing what they were supposed to do, and people were not doing what they weren't supposed to do, all of which results in the unqualified opinion, where the result truly is that the assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses and expenditures of the town are fairly stated in all material respects. And that is what we refer to as a clean report. There were no exceptions relative to findings. Your risk assessment showed that there were no material weaknesses and there were no significant deficiencies. A significant deficiency is something where if somebody does something that they shouldn't have had, it could result in a misstatement in a number in this report. All right, we found none of those. Material weakness means that what was done or not done was so significant, it was so large, that it was a guarantee that this report is going to be wrong. So when you start looking at the numbers, they're not correct and are not reliable. The management discussion and analysis on pages 4 through 9, this is a requirement of the Florida Auditor General, and basically there are 9 items, 9 areas, and if you go through, you can count them, that have to be addressed by Mary in writing about the town's activities during the year. There can be no future discussions, in other words, plans of the commission, things of this nature. Everything in those 9 sections has to be taken from the financial data in the body of the report. In other words, actual revenues, actual expenditures, and the analysis of those items would pour forth in this section. So it's a highlighted thing. If you may have gotten a report from IBM if you own shares in it, or a publicly traded corporation, you usually see the chief executive officer has his picture in the front, and that's what he does. He gives you the state of the union for the company, and that's what this MD&A is supposed to do as far as the town is concerned. This is what happened during the year. On pages 10, you have the statement of net assets, and this is what we refer to, as you recall, the full accrual financial statement or balance sheet. What is different from that versus your budgetary basis, which follows, is that it's full accrual and it includes fixed assets, debt, and accrued interest, all right, and depreciation, all right. And all of these items have been built up by staff and Mary in particular over a period of time for purposes of accuracy. But what it tries to do, whether we like it or not, it tries to make your balance sheet look like IBM's, all right? Whether it has assets and fixed assets and depreciation and debt and accounts payable and so forth, all right? The reason that the GASB board went down this road was because when everybody kept on telling them 12 years ago that they had to change the format. Budgetary accounting wasn't sufficient for some people. It turns out that those people were the money lenders, the people, the investment bankers, the people who were looking at the creditworthiness of the town to say, will we lend you money? And they're telling the board they didn't understand your budget-based presentation, where you have budget and actual and expenditures and so forth, and that you're on a cash or modified cash basis. In other words, what's in the bank is what you've got left, okay, which is very straightforward. So this is the result of those hearings that the GASB board held. Unfortunately, it gives you a different view, gives you a full accrual view, but it's not how the commission runs the town. It is for purposes of reporting, and supposedly it's supposed to allow this town to be comparative to Dallas, Texas, because the format's going to be the same. The numbers are going to be humongously different, and I understand that. You know, New York said when they started doing, the staff in New York, when they said they started going through this presentation for fixed assets, they said there isn't enough money in the world for them to find out what their fixed assets are, because it's been there for so long and so out of control. There was no way they could promise council that they were going to come up with anything. So suffice to say, this is a requirement, and the result of the testing that we did was that we found no exceptions. Our lead in terms of the major funds, our general fund, that's where the emphasis lay. And we convert that by adding fixed assets and debt and so forth to get this page 10 presentation for you. So this data has been audited. Our opinion includes this item. So suffice to say that I just met with the technical director, Stephen Gaudier, of the Government Finance Officers Association out of Chicago. And his comment when we started talking about this government-wide presentation, he said, "Who looks at it?" Because he has no dear respect for this presentation, because it doesn't help our local governments to do what they were supposed to do. All right. So suffice to, with that, page 11 is a presentation also in full accrual of what you would refer to as the income statement. They call it a statement of activities. It's a little bit upside down. In the commercial sector, you're used to seeing income, revenues, expenses, and net income. All right. This presentation starts the opposite. It starts with expenses, then revenues, and then net excess. So you can see that it's significantly different from what you would otherwise be used to in a full accrual environment. Page 12 is where we start to get to. This is where the rubber meets the road. Our governmental funds, you see the general fund, the capital improvements, and then the total. And that's on page 12. And as you can see, our total assets for the combined governmental funds is $5.7 million. Our total fund balances are $5,727,000. Of this amount, $5,720,000 is unassigned. Okay, and as we said last year, that is available for the commission to run the town with, if you will. Page 13 is a breakdown of your revenues and expenditures for the year for the general fund as well as the capital improvements fund. And as you can see, our revenues for the combined funds is $2.2 million, $2,295,000. Our total expenses are $2,211,000, and we had a profit there or an excess of $84,000. We also transferred $150,000 from general fund, approved by commission, to the capital improvement fund. So, which in point of fact took the general fund's excess from $337,000 down to $187,000. So that's, the commission knew that the dollars were there, and that's why the movement was made, and it was necessary for your program. So there's no surprise there. But it was as Mayor, you had indicated, 2012 was a good year for general fund. And the next page shows, rehashes what you had already quoted, your budget actual for your general fund on page 15. And what that basically says is we collected more than we thought we were going to collect in terms of revenues by $60,922. We spent less than we thought we were going to spend by $17,102. Check that, $126,920. I forgot our culture and recreation, our rec department. So between the over-collection, if you will, we got in more than we thought we would. We spent less than we thought we would. So we ended up with $187,000 surplus that goes into fund balance for use by the commission again. So these are things that certainly when you're doing the budget crunches and the hearings become important to know in terms of what's in your piggy bank, all right? I'm not trying to make light of it, because these are important decisions that you make, and you need to have a sense or feel of where you stand.
And can I ask you a question? So that total expense includes the debt repayment?
Yes, sir. It falls under fiscal charges. Correct.
Mhm.
Which has in finance and administrative, isn't it?
Capital improvements.
Capital improvements.
Capital improvements on page 13.
Okay, I apologize. The budget actual, and it's picked up under on page 13, debt service, principal, and the principal payment was $256,410. The interest charge for the year was $141,824. So the answer to your question is yes, it doesn't, it is picked up there, and it is in the capital improvements fund.
Thank you.
Page 17, I'm sorry, page 16 and 17 are the balance sheet for the sewer fund, and page 17 is carry over the liabilities of the sewer fund. So 16 and 17 are your balance sheet. Page 18 for sewer fund shows a change in net assets, revenues over expenses of $76,746. So there's a small surplus in that fund as well. That fund is also subject to budgetary control, as the statutes would require. So that budget actual statement is on page 58. And that presentation, we collected $3,200 more than we thought we would collect for charges for sales and services, and we expended $182,000 less than we thought we would expend. And keep in mind, because that's an enterprise fund, that includes depreciation. Now, the commission doesn't budget for depreciation, but we have to charge you when we do your revenues and expenses. But notwithstanding that, you underspent, okay? So that's where basically the excess surplus came from to 76,000. So that too, the plan that you made worked, and that's how we view your budget. It's the drawing board that you put together to see how things are going to come out. The rest of the report is 36 pages of footnotes. I'm not going to read those to you. Majority of them are boilerplate, but they do contain a lot of information relative to the indebtedness, to the your capital assets, your receivables, the custodial credit risk for your deposits at the bank. The capital assets are then in the next section, and I'll let you read that for your own edification. Financial trends, and these are the statistical tables which begin on page 63 and carry on for the next 33 pages. And these are the historical tables that we've started pulling together. And as I said, each year we're going to add a year until we get to 10, because that's the standard. One of the things that these tables are not required by the Auditor General, but we've put this in here because when the town goes out for debt, one of the things that the bankers and the money people usually want is, what's your history? So rather than making everybody run around in a 48-hour period trying to pull this data together, it's already in your report. All you have to do is give them a copy of the report, because it's all here. Suffice to say, the town is in good financial condition. I think the attentiveness that the board pays to these items is, quite frankly, remarkable, especially in these times of low values in terms of the ad valorem taxes and what you can charge and what is available in terms of that market value as determined by the appraiser. So everybody is trying to be upbeat because we're getting information from the appraiser this year that says, well, it's going up a little bit, and because it's not going down. And sometimes not going down at all is a blessing. And I think that won't make your job any easier, because I think your costs are going up faster than zero. So but I think it'll be maybe make your headache a little bit less. I'm certainly open to questions.
Great job.
As far as we're concerned, you did. The numbers, the money's in the bank.
Thank you. So one thought is that another appendix that identifies the total value, cash value of the town, the total cash value, before the year starts and the total cash value after the year ends, on your 10-year history, year by year, would be a tremendous advantage for a guy like me who dug through that to get the data, because I obviously misread the data. And so either I can't read or the data was insufficient. So I think cash flows, not cash flows, but cash value, because we have so many funds, it's very difficult to manage through the 15 funds we have. So if you have a net, your value is $2,433,000. This year, you got 187,000, so now it's $2,450,000. That would be really helpful.
I think that when I recommended that people go to that class, I think it would open some
I'll
eyes
certainly go to
to
the class.
this budget.
But I'm telling you,
The budget procedure.
I've depended on that document for my information.
Right. And I understand what you're saying, one of the problems is when it says governmental funds and it presents a schedule, it doesn't just mean general fund. It means the capital projects fund also, because by definition, you know, they are the number of funds, as you've identified, there are 7 magic funds now in today's world. Some of them are combined for purposes of reporting, and I understand what you're saying is saying, well, gee, I'd like to just look at general fund.
No, I just
You
like
know.
to look, see, if I'm spending more than I'm taking in, my net value is gonna be less at the end of the year. If I'm not spending
Right.
more, it's gonna be more. That's
Correct.
really what I want to see, nothing else.
Okay. And that's basically, that would be the government fund balance of governmental funds, but again, keep in mind, it's not just general fund on page 67. And that does tell you what you're talking about, because the first 3 years going back, it was going down. The last 2 years, it has gone up. All right, so
Is that page
that's
65? I think page 65.
67,
67, maybe I didn't
Right.
put it enough, but, okay, thank you.
correct, because that just zeroes in, and you're right. That fund balance should be what's in the bank.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the annual financial report for fiscal year 2011-2012 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Wojcik?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Now we're going back to old business. The second reading and advertised public hearing ordinance 13-04, use of skateboards, roller skates, and inline skates in CTF area. Attorney Dixon.
Ordinance number 13-04, an ordinance of the town of Redding Shores, Florida, prohibiting the use of skateboards, roller skates, and inline skates within the commercial tourist facility, CTF, land use district in the town, and on specified public or private property in the town of Redding Shores, creating a new section of the code of the town of Redding Shores, Florida, pertaining to skateboards, roller skates, and inline skates in the town of Redding Shores, providing penalties, providing for the inclusion of such ordinance in the code of the town of Redding Shores, providing an effective date.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 13-04 as stated.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Mayor. I've distributed some information to the commission, and including an amendment to this proposed ordinance 13-04, and also a set of questions that I may be the only one who doesn't know the answer. However, there may be others. And I believe we need the answer to these questions before we can act on either on my proposed amendment or on the ordinance as it's presented. So to give us more time to find out what we are going to be doing to our children now and in the long run, I make a motion that we table ordinance 13-04 until the commission meeting on September the 11th, 2013.
Is the motion out to table? Any second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second?
What-
Any discussion?
Tell me the purpose again for tabling it. What are we going to accomplish between now and then? I want to
Mr.
know.
Mayor, call the roll. Hold on.
There's
Right.
really no discussion on a motion to table generally, so motion's been made to table, it's been seconded. Be time for roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Capper,
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes,
No.
Vice Mayor Branch,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
No. Motion to table, hold. Right?
The what?
Motion to table it?
The motion table is granted, so
Granted.
it's been tabled until the September 11th, I believe it is, workshop, since it's tabled to
For
a
what
specific.
purpose, can I say?
All right, I'm sorry, workshop.
Can you tell me what the purpose is?
Did you read the material I sent you?
I did.
That's the purpose.
Well, I already read it.
Want me to read it again?
I guess no, I've already read it.
Read it again.
Well, the matter's been tabled.
Yeah.
You can't table it, then discuss it. So
Okay.
the matter's been tabled until the next regular meeting. It is not necessary to re-advertise it since it's been tabled to a date certain.
So the next regular meeting is August.
I said September.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was tabled to, the motion was to table it until a specific date, which was, I think, September 11th.
Yes.
Is that the September meeting?
Right.
So, and you can discuss it at your workshops
Workshop.
between now and then if you wish to.
Mary, would you make notes, put that on the workshop, please?
Yes.
All right.
Thanks. Thank you.
The next is neighborly care. This was brought up, was tabled to last meeting, and
I can do something about that if you want me to.
go ahead. Yes, sir.
According to the information that they sent us from Neighborly Care people, and went over the requirement, and they service people in our community every year, that they have asked us, and they have in the past, we've always donated what they requested, I believe. They're requesting $3,000 for us to donate to the cause this year, so that they're able to continue to provide the care necessary for our citizens that need it. And I would make a motion that we provide the $3,000 requested.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Didn't we put in the budget, is there a place in the budget for 1,500 on that? I'm not sure.
It's in there for three.
It's in there for 3,000.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Capper,
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes. Appointment of board members for the next. Oh, wait a minute, I jumped that one.
This one, 3, I think.
3, okay. Back up one. On the budget for this year, I would like to keep the millage as same at 2.0. Is what we've come up with the budget as. And
I'll make a motion that we accept the millage rate of 2.000 for FY 13-14.
I second it.
And
Oh.
can we do these two motions at the
This
same
is
time?
Proposed millage, right?
proposed millage,
This is
proposed.
proposed millage in the tentative budget.
Right, this is not your final millage, this is your
Proposed.
motion, I think, is to accept the proposed millage rate.
Oh,
Because at the end of the budgeting
Right.
millage process,
Okay.
you adopt the budget,
All right.
or you adopt the millage and then you adopt the
okay.
budget.
To accept the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 13-14 to 2.0000.
And I'll second the proposed.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Capper,
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch,
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes. Now,
Don't we do the tentative budget also?
You can, I think the mayor just basically presents a tentative budget.
Don't we, you don't need a motion for it?
No,
I
not at this
don't
time.
believe so, no, I think this is just the
Fine.
tentative budget that's being proposed.
the proposed millage being proposed in the tentative.
And The millage is subject to change. The items in the tentative or proposed budget obviously are subject to change as you get further in the budgeting process.
Okay.
Now we're down to appointment of board members. So, let's see. Commissioner Capper, for District 1, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Would you contact Jim Parker and see?
We've already done it.
Did you all read this memo?
No, I don't have a memo.
I'm sorry, it should be in your binders. Dave Brown and
Oh, yeah, I do have it. That's it.
Yeah.
P and Z. has-
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
So we need somebody still at large.
You can go ahead and appoint and approve Dave Brown and go into
Right.
District 1
Okay.
and certainly go ahead and take care of that this evening.
District 2, we can do them all at one time.
Okay.
1, 2.
Ron Stein was for finance.
How about Dan?
Well, Dan travels a lot, and he said he'd take off and they'd just switch them.
Okay. All right, gotcha. So Dan's gonna take the alternate position.
Take
and
the alternate.
Ron will take.
Take the,
Ron, yes, Ron's already
Okay.
been appointed for District 2.
So I hear a motion to approve Dave Browning at planning and zoning at large. He was at large, he will now. So we're missing at-large positions, the only one we're missing. And Dan to, in District 2, and Ron Stein. I hear a motion to accept all those changes.
Ron is
Dan will be
working.
in the alternate position.
Right. Dan's in the alternate position now. Waiting on a motion to accept all of it.
I'll make a motion that we accept the nomination of Dave Browning, Planning and Zoning from at-large to District 1 position, and Dan Carwood, District 2 Financial Advisory Board position, has agreed to take an alternate position, and that Ron Stein, now District 2, will take the spot. District 1 position will need to be filled. Is that correct?
That's close.
Or is that's probably,
Second.
That's probably what the mayor was going to say. We have a second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Should let Mary say it.
Yeah,
Really?
she wrote it. Hearing none, Mary call the roll.
Wojcik?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. I think I covered everything, huh?
Yes, sir.
Any public comments?
Please go. Question.
I have a question.
Yes,
Just
sir.
an FYI question. The use of profanity and disruptive behavior in public, is there something against that now, or is that an opportunity?
Why are you looking at me?
Because I went to this training class.
That there's the man to ask.
Oh,
It's
there.
covered by state law and by county ordinance.
So if the language is profane,
Profane, obstreperous, raucous, it's
all they need to do is call the police.
pretty broad. In the event that's happening, yes, call us.
Okay, thank you.
And then attorney might have something to say about it.
Probably better off not saying anything. That's an extremely tough area to regulate, and yes, there are state statutes still, but it depends upon the type of speech and the manner, and to answer your second question, no, it's not an opportunity for regulation by this council, commission.
And in most instances, it can be remedied without anybody being arrested.
That's what tasers are for.
I didn't say that.
Well, it disrupts the domestic tranquility, you know what I mean? So it's just unnecessary and needs to,
And we are happy to address that quality of life issue.
And I might say, you know, this is one of these situations that'll, depending on what the situation is, a lot of times in situations like that, it can be remedied much better by individuals, by neighbors. For instance, if you have a next-door neighbor that's causing a lot of problems like that, anybody's entitled to their own peace and quiet, enjoyment of life, and that sort of thing. And a lot of times in private civil suits, that can be remedied by court a lot easier than it can be remedied by law enforcement.
and that's for,
People don't like to go that route, I understand that, but that is a better remedy in many cases.
and that's true for chronic events and for spontaneous events, you know, I think probably just, you know, notifying the police is probably the best approach. Okay, thank you. Another good job.
Any other comments? Yes, sir.
I just have a question. I know that you guys.
Would you
Yeah,
put,
come up here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
up to the podium and state your name and address, please?
And your social security number?
My name is Bob Burnett, and I just have a question, really, because you guys tabled the thing till September 11th. I just don't know much about it, so I came here to find out about the skateboarding thing. Is that just something you don't talk about until September 11th, or?
I can brief you on what was taken.
Sure.
The ordinance that we were looking at tonight is an ordinance to eliminate skateboarding in the CTF district only, not throughout town, as the rumor's been going around. I've got people skateboard up in front of my house all the time, doesn't matter.
Right.
And off of public property here. We've got damage out on the rails where they jump up on the rail and skateboard and stuff.
Okay.
That kind of thing. That's
So,
where it was.
actually, I live in Seminole, but the reason I came down here is my son works at the marina down here. He skateboards to work. So my question was, you know, is this something that now he has to worry that if he gets off of work and he wants to go to the surf shop or the skate shop or whatever it is he going to get in trouble because he's skating to the skate shop? That's my, you know, or, you know, if he wants to skateboard to Madeira Beach to visit his girlfriend.
None of this would come up if these skateboarders had stayed off of public property, stayed off of private property, and not done damage. It wouldn't come up.
But again, and I'm not going to argue it because I know that you have another time to do
Right
that.
now, it's been tabled, so we don't know
Yeah.
what's going.
Yeah, I just had a question about, like, I know there's people that like do the skateboarding where they do a lot of tricks and stuff, and that's the guys that are, you know, sliding on that. But I'm just wondering about the, you know, the little girl on her longboard that's just riding down the sidewalk to get to her girlfriend's house. You know, now she's all of a sudden not going to be, she has to stop, pick up the skateboard, walk down, and put it back down and go
There's no
again?
ordinance
I
right
don't
now,
know.
so I can't tell you.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what passes, is that how it's going to go?
There's laws against getting out in the street and skateboarding already. They already exist, so. If you're in Piedmont.
I just had that question.
I'm sorry, I did not get your.
We need your address
Burnett.
and your address.
Oh, it's, I'm not in the city, so I mean, I can still
We
get it.
still need your
It's,
address.
12097 84th Avenue in Seminole. 33722.
Yes,
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name's Jason Figueredo, 17735 Long Point Drive, for the record. Also, for the record, I would state that your last comment was inflammatory and discriminating.
How's that?
Skateboarders, I don't think you're identifying all skateboarders. I think that's unfair and unjust. I would tell you that I represent a small but very fast-growing population that's against this ordinance. I think that several people were caught by surprise by this proposal, this ordinance. Understanding it was tabled, I recommend and propose that more information is put out so that people understand the origins of this proposal, what the initial problem was. And I also propose that the next workshop, which I think on here is dated July 31st,
Correct.
Not July 21st. That's a-
July 31st?
31st.
July 31st, is that correct?
Correct, that's right.
Yeah, I propose that this ordinance and more specifically, the problem that you're trying to solve is readdressed, and that we do a better job of advertising it throughout the community so more people can go and be involved in coming up with probably what I would recommend a more plausible solution opposed to the draconian method of banning skateboarding, roller skating, and inline skates.
But when you say banning it, where are we banning it?
Oh, I know where you're banning it. I have a map.
That, I just want to
No,
make
absolutely.
sure that you did. You know.
No, I think there's a lot better solutions to this problem, given that I'm not, my assumptions are correct, and I do understand where the problem originated from. I also think that it's, in the end, I have a very large and lengthy background in solving difficult issues, and I would tell you that this is...
I understand you do, and I thank you for it.
Thank you. And this is unenforceable. I would rather, in a short 30 seconds, I'd rather spend the money and time of our police officers running down people who try to run me and my baby over in a crosswalk than trying to take care of irresponsible young adults or kids that are misbehaving in public. So that's my proposal, and thank you.
Appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you at the workshop.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, next workshop meeting is stated is Wednesday, July the 31st, 2013 at 7 p.m. Regular meeting Wednesday, August 14th, 2013, 7 p.m. With that, this meeting is adjourned.
I don't know much.
Each night at 8, under her window he'd wait. He would look up and shout,
Ain't you coming out, my pretty, pretty mama? Ain't you coming out tonight?
he never played music for his serenade. He'd just look